Welcome to The Explainer. Today we are deconstructing a fascinating and frankly provocative text that completely reframes a key part of our own biology. It lays out a model where quantum physics, our consciousness, and the very pigment in our skin are all linked in a way you've probably never even imagined.
Right from the jump, the source material, the quantum melanin code, doesn't just ask a simple question. It throws down a gauntlet. It challenges us to look at melanin not as just some pigment that determines skin tone, but as a piece of incredibly sophisticated, built-in technology that can interface directly with the fabric of reality.
So our goal here is to map out this exact framework for you. We're going to follow the book's logic step by step. We'll start with its really big abstract theories on reality itself, and then we'll bring it all the way down to a set of daily practices that are designed to, well, activate this alleged biological tech.
So where does an idea this big even begin? Well, the entire model really rests on a single, foundational claim made right at the start of the book, and this one idea sets the stage for everything else that follows.
Now, the text doesn't present itself as just, some theory. It literally calls itself an operating manual. The core idea is this: melanin is a technology, that knowledge of what it can really do has been deliberately hidden, and that this manual holds the key to reclaiming that power. Specifically, for people it refers to as melanated people.
All right, let's get into the nitty-gritty. We're going to look at the theoretical framework the book builds as the bedrock for its entire model of reality. This part pulls together work from different physicists and researchers to make a case for how our consciousness can have a direct, physical effect on the world around us.
So the model starts by bringing in the work of Stanford University professor Dr. William Tiller. It suggests that reality isn't just one thing, but actually two different spaces that interact with each other. First, you've got D space, or direct space. That's the physical world we all see and touch, the one that follows the rules of classical physics we learned in school. But then there's R space, or reciprocal space. Think of this as an invisible, non-physical ocean of pure information and potential, all governed by quantum mechanics. And here's the kicker. The source claims our space is the primary one. Our physical world, it argues, is just a projection from this quantum field of consciousness.
Okay, so if our space is where it all starts, how does a thought or an intention in that space become a real physical thing in our space? Well, according to this framework, there's a bridge. It's a type of theoretical particle called deltrons. They're described as these little translators that exist right on the border between the two spaces. The book claims that when we focus our intention and our emotions, we activate these deltrons, and they ripple out from the quantum field to actually influence how physical matter gets organized in our world.
So what's the proof? Well, the source points to Tiller's imprinting experiments. In these studies, meditators would focus a very specific intention onto a simple little electronic device. Then, they'd place that device near a beaker of water. And what they reportedly found, over and over again, was that the water's pH would actually change to match the intention they had imprinted, even when the device was miles away. The book presents this as hard evidence that focused consciousness can literally restructure the physical world.
Then this whole idea gets connected to something called the holographic principle. The concept here is that the universe isn't just a bunch of separate things floating around. Instead, it's a single, unified field of information. It's like a hologram, where every tiny piece of the hologram contains the entire image. The argument is that every one of us is like a piece of that hologram, a localized expression of the whole system, with built-in access to all of its information. This is a really foundational idea for the book's later claims about intuition and knowing things you shouldn't be able to know.
Okay, so now let's see how the book connects all this heady physics stuff directly to our own bodies. This is a really critical pivot point, where the whole framework shifts from theory to biology. It basically tries to answer the question, if we can tap into this quantum field, what's the biological antenna we're using to do it? And the book's answer, in a word, is melanin.
I mean, listen to these claims. The book makes some absolutely extraordinary statements about what melanin is. It's not just a pigment. It's described as this living, multi-talented biopolymer with some really unique physical abilities that, according to the source, make it the perfect biological interface between us and the quantum field. So let's break down each one of these properties.
First up, the text says melanin is an organic semiconductor. Think of it like the silicon chip in your computer. It can switch back and forth between conducting electricity and resisting it. The book claims this allows it to act like a biological computer, constantly processing information from the world around you,
especially from things like light, sound, and electromagnetic fields, and turning those signals into useful data for your body.
Second, and this is a really central claim, it's presented as a room temperature superconductor. Now, this is a huge deal because most superconductors we know about need to be cooled to near absolute zero to work. But the source says melanin can conduct energy with zero resistance, meaning absolutely no energy is lost, at normal body temperatures. That would make it an unbelievably efficient energy conductor inside our bodies.
Third, it's described as piezoelectric. What does that mean? It means it can literally create an electric charge from physical pressure or vibration. The book argues that this is the scientific reason behind ancient practices. The vibrations from drumming or dancing or chanting are physically converted by the melanin in your body into real, usable electrical energy. It's like you're literally charging your own battery.
And finally, the book claims melanin acts as a quantum processor. It says that melanin's unique molecular structure lets it maintain something called quantum coherence, which allows it to process information directly from that quantum field at insane speeds. We're talking femtoseconds, which are quadrillionths of a second. This, the text proposes, is the actual physical mechanism behind things like gut feelings, intuition, and even precognition. All those ways of knowing that go beyond our 5 basic senses.
The text also zooms in on neuromelanin, which is the specific type of melanin found in key parts of the brain. It's described as an even more powerful version of the molecule. It's said to play a huge role in protecting the brain by grabbing onto and neutralizing things like heavy metals and toxins. And what's more, it's linked to the idea of accumulating wisdom and refining your consciousness over your entire lifetime.
Okay, so what's the bottom line here? The book claims that these 4 properties, when you put them all together, give what it calls a melanin advantage. Now, this isn't presented as some kind of value judgment. It's framed as a functional biological difference. According to the source, having more melanin in your system gives you a greater capacity for energy absorption, enhanced sensitivity to electromagnetic fields, faster quantum processing for better intuition, and a built-in defense system against stress.
So if melanin is the biological hardware, how exactly do you run the software of your own intention on it? The next part of the book explains the specific mechanism for how this all supposedly works, and it brings in some really fascinating theories about consciousness and sacred geometry, all centered around the human heart.
Citing the work of physicist Dan Winter, the text makes this amazing claim that elevated emotions like love or gratitude aren't just feelings, they're physical patterns. They supposedly reorganize the heart's electromagnetic field, which is by far the most powerful in the body, into the specific geometric shape of a golden mean spiral. This shape, the text claims, creates what it calls an implosion, a kind of self-organizing vortex that literally pulls energy and information from the quantum field into your body.
And this spiraling field then forms what's called a torus. You can see it here. It's a self-sustaining, donut-shaped energy field. The book proposes that when you get into that coherent emotional state, your personal toroidal field can then start to resonate with the Earth's own, much larger toroidal field. It's like striking a tuning fork and having another one vibrate with it. This, it says, allows you to tap into a truly vast source of energy.
Finally, the model weaves in this concept of the rainbow body from Christopher Hill's. It's a framework that maps different levels of human consciousness to the frequencies of the light spectrum. So you have red, the lower frequency, which is linked to survival, all the way up to violet, the highest frequency, which is linked to unity consciousness. And the book then positions melanin as the perfect biological full-spectrum antenna, uniquely able to absorb, process, and integrate every single one of these frequencies of consciousness.
And this is where we get to the core of it all. After laying out all of this incredible theory, from quantum physics to sacred geometry to biology, the book makes a major pivot. It moves from the abstract what and why to the super practical how. This is really where the operating manual part of the book kicks in.
Okay, let's dive into the actionable toolkit. This is the stuff the book says you can do every single day to optimize what it calls this innate biological system. This section is all about tangible, daily practices designed to activate and boost all those properties we've just been talking about.
So the source lays out this really precise morning routine. It's not just about getting out of bed, it's a whole system for priming your body's energy field. And notice the flow here. It starts with an emotion, gratitude. The book says this is the key to creating that coherent heart field. Then it moves to the physical, hydration, with sea salt and lemon to make an electrolyte solution for better conductivity. Then sunlight, which it calls the primary fuel source for melanin. Then movement,
to fire up those piezoelectric properties. It's only after the system is calm and fully charged that you move to the last step, intention setting, to basically program your reality for the rest of the day.
And the manual is just as specific when it comes to nutrition. It's not just eat healthy. As you can see, it details the exact nutritional building blocks it claims you need for your melanin to work at its best. For instance, it lists tyrosine as the main raw material. Then it points to copper as being essential for the enzyme that turns that tyrosine into melanin. Vitamin C is in there to support the whole process, while B vitamins and iodine are listed as key regulators for your nervous system and thyroid, which also play a part.
Now, this slide here lays out the book's core meditation practice, the rainbow body activation. It's a very structured process where you move one by one through each energy center or frequency of consciousness. As you can see, each color has a specific affirmation tied to it. The idea is to visualize the color in that part of your body, really feel the energy it represents, and repeat the affirmation to embody that state. And what's really interesting is the timing. Notice how it gives double the time to the green, heart-centered frequency? That's because the book identifies the heart as the absolute engine of creation. The guide also tackles what it considers a major modern threat: man-made electromagnetic fields, or EMFs. Because it claims melanin is so sensitive to these fields, the protocol gives a really clear four-step plan for protection. The most important step is to eliminate sources whenever you can, like switching off your Wi-Fi at night. The second is to create distance from devices. The third, if you need it, is to use actual shielding materials. And finally, it argues that the best defense is a great offense, strengthening your body's own protective field through daily grounding and heart coherence practices.
The practical section wraps up by taking on the topic of trauma. The text argues that trauma isn't just in your head. It's a biological issue that actually fragments your body's energy field and stops it from working properly. So, it proposes a two-pronged approach. First, somatic healing, which works to release trauma that's physically stored in your own body and nervous system. And second, something it calls ancestral healing, which is about acknowledging and releasing trauma passed down through generations, while at the same time consciously reclaiming the gifts and strengths of your lineage.
So finally, let's look at the big picture. What's the end game here? What does the book envision for the future if these principles and practices were actually applied on a massive scale?
The source offers up several case studies as anecdotal evidence that this protocol actually works. We've categorized the claimed outcomes here just to make it clear. And you can see they cover a huge range, from physical results like healing chronic illness to material ones like manifesting career success, all the way to metaphysical experiences like spiritual awakenings and activating psychic abilities.
Now, the book argues that a global shift in consciousness doesn't mean every single person on Earth has to adopt these practices. Citing systems theory, it claims there's a tipping point. Once a critical mass of the population, which it estimates at somewhere between 10 and 20%, adopts a new belief system and a more coherent way of being, the entire collective consciousness will just inevitably shift to match it. And the ultimate vision here is explicitly not one of domination or just flipping the old power dynamics. Instead, it frames this whole idea as a form of leadership through service. It's about stepping into your own power in a way that creates a new, more equitable, and more conscious world for absolutely everyone. This slide really distills the entire book down to its essence, this core 5-step code. It's presented as the fundamental operating system for the reader, and the sequence is crystal clear. First, activate your biology. Second, heal your past to clear your energy field. Third, align your heart to generate a coherent signal. Fourth, consciously focus your intention, and only then, as a direct result of those first 4 steps, does the 5th one, creating your reality, become possible. And so, our deconstruction of this text leaves us right where the book itself ends. It poses this final, provocative question that really shifts the focus away from all the theory and puts the creative responsibility for whatever happens next squarely on you, the reader. It's not just a summary, it's a direct call to action.